I'm Jessie Coffield. He's DraftKings contributor Geoff Ulrich, and it is time for PGA Price Check. So, Geoff, need your favorite DFS plays at the following price ranges for this week's Wyndham Championship from Sedgefield Country Club in North Carolina. So, Geoff, this is the final full field event before the PGA Tour playoffs officially start. So some jockeying for position going on, okay? Start us off with a guy who's 10K or more. Your boy, Louis Oosthuizen, is the second highest priced guy at 10.7.
Yeah, exciting times. I mean, there's a couple different angles we could go. I mean, I kind of made it known I was out on Patrick Reed yesterday. I'm going to stick to that call. The travel schedule is crazy. I'm not a big 10K for Jason Kokrak fan either. Not the greatest Bermuda putter. I think Will Zalatoris is interesting. But you know what, Jesse? You know, the brain says go with Webb Simpson in his course history, but the heart says Louis Oosthuizen here. I mean, this is a player, obviously, who week in, week out, bringing it consistency-wise. Fell apart a little bit on Sunday last week, but, I mean, that's one round here, one back nine. Oosty, when you really look at him and Webb Simpson, put up together over the last couple of months, I mean, Oosty's a guy who's been better approach, better putting, better pretty much everything. I think you have to give him a little bit of respect. We saw the spike week from Hideki Matsuyama, but all things considered here, I don't mind paying up for Louis in this field. I mean, the win just seems like it's inevitable at this point. It's coming soon. Zalatoris is probably the guy I would pivot off to in GPPs, but if you're giving me one play, one lineup, I would start with Louis over Webb this week. Maybe it's a bit of a hot take given Webb Simpson's course history, but I think Oosty is where you start this week.
All right, let's talk about guys in that 9K range. Siwoo Kim was in your article on the DK Nation, and you seem to like him, so talk about him maybe.
I mean, Siwoo is definitely interesting from the perspective of we know how quickly Siwoo can bounce back, and Siwoo is another guy who's got incredible course history at Wyndham, maybe even a little bit underrated. He won here in 2016, top 5 here the last couple seasons as well. He shot a 13 on a par 3 last week, but I think that's only going to create sentiment low. So again, for a GPP play or a pivot in this range, I think Siwoo Kim is the play. I think he will bounce back quickly. But the guy I like the most in this range, it's got to be Russell Henley. And again, I mean, I know I'm going to my guys. If you follow me on Twitter, you're probably sick of me writing, tweeting about these guys, but Russell Henley is so consistent. T9 at this event last year. He leads the field in strokes gain approach over the last 50 rounds. And again, this tournament, I mean, the last 5 winners, they've all ranked top 4 in approach for the week. I mean, this is where you have to light it up with your short irons. And really, nobody in this field is better at doing that than Russell Henley. Does he always bring it with the putter? No. That's going to be, that's going to be the make or break it. If he gets hot with the putter, it might be game over for the field. But I think at 9,400, he's actually being underrated. He's certainly played better than guys like Tommy Fleetwood and Sung J M over the last month. I feel like him and Brian Harman are very comparable, and Brian Harman is $500 more. So give me all the Russell Henley this week. Again, another player. It just feels inevitable at some point he's going to grab a win, and this is a very good course for him.
All right, Geoff, how about that 8K range? Who are you looking at in there?
8K range, definitely a bit more tricky. I think you've got a lot of players with a lot of potential, but also a lot of bust potential as well. I know some people are going to be on Bobby McIntyre at 8,900. I actually don't mind that play either, but I feel like the guy you can't ignore here is Sebastian Munoz at 8,200. This is a player who picked up his first win on a similar style course at the Sanderson Farms, also features champion Bermuda Greens. Munoz is a great birdie maker. His approach game has been lights out lately, too. Gained over 8 strokes on approach at the John Deere Classic, another kind of birdie fest. He was right in there at the Olympics, too, got in that 7-man playoff. So, you look at Munoz and what he does for DFS. When this guy goes off, he really goes off. He's got over 100 points in 2 of his last 3 starts. For DFS on DraftKings. I think Munoz is underrated. And again, another player like in this field, if he brings his A game, I mean, he could easily vault to the top. So I'm looking at Munoz as just a little too cheap this week.
All right, let's talk about the 7K range. Is that a little easier to navigate?
I think so, just because we have such good value down there, kind of, sub 7.5K. I mean, there's some players coming in with, like really good form, quite frankly. I mean, these may not be like top end players, but I'm looking at a guy like Adam Shanks specifically, 7,300. May not have the best golfing name, but, this is a player who's got top 4 finishes now in 2 of his last 4 starts. I mean, lighting it up from a DraftKings perspective as well. Over 100 points, Jesse, in 3 of his last 4 starts on DraftKings. This guy knows how to make birdies. He's top 10 top 20 in terms of birdie or better percentage. Again, last week made 23 birdies at the Barbasol, at the John Deere made over 23 birdies. This is just what you want from a sub like 7.5K player. You may not even need Adam Schenk at this price to finish top 20 for him to factor in because he's such a good birdie maker. So 7,300, he's been making a lot of cuts. I just don't really see anyone else that's potentially giving you that good production at this price range. So for me in the 7K range, I like going cheap and I like Adam Schenk a lot.
All right, how about real value, Geoff? I'm talking below 7K. In your article, you said one of your sleeper picks was Tom Lewis. Is that who you want to talk about?
Now, I love this range. I love diving deep, getting down right into the kind of the scrubby part of the lineup, so to speak. There's about 3 guys at this range that I'm actually very high on, maybe even more. Tom Lewis is definitely a guy you can consider for GPPs. Now, he's very boomer bust. Tom Lewis has won events, like this, lower scoring events where, he just kind of comes out of nowhere and wins it. And I like him for a GPP play, but I think the most solid play in this range for me is probably Henrik Norlander. This is a guy who hits a ton of fairways. And you look at what Henrik Norlander does well. He hits his short irons well. He's top 25 in proximity from 175 yards and in all different categories. Again, he's been very consistent of late as well. He's made 6 cuts in a row, which for Henrik Norlander is very good because he can be an inconsistent player, but he's kind of had all facets of his game working pretty well lately. I think at 6,600, he's too cheap, but I got to give shouts out to guys like Roger Sloan, Jason Duffner. These guys are playing really well too, and they make for good plays under 7K. I just like Norlander the best out of all 4 of those guys I mentioned. And again, I think he's actually way too cheap there at 6,600.
All right, Slate approved pick. Geoff, what is your favorite overall play for the Wyndham Championship?
Yeah, from a price per dollar, per recent form, course history, it just boils down to Russell Henley for me. I think he's too cheap at 9,400. He was T9 at this event last year. He's great driving accuracy. He's great with the short irons. This is it. This is the setup you want Russell Henley on. And realistically, you look at this field, I think he could easily be, 9,800, 10K. So I think Russell Henley for me, that's the Slate approved right there.